A quick update, at 6:47 p.m. there was an electrical disturbance in the system affecting approximately 62,000 customers in the Manhattan area. This was caused by a power outage on the west side of Manhattan. The fire department, police department, and emergency management responded quickly to the scene, and we are working closely with Con Ed to restore power as quickly as possible. We have no reports of injuries or fatalities at this time. We also have a list of those individuals that are on life-saving equipment, and we are working with them to make sure they have what they need. And we have put together a joint task force with PD and the fire department to make sure that nobody is stuck in an elevator still. Right now, I'd like to turn it over to the CEO of Con Ed, John McAvoy, to give an update from Con Ed.
Hi, good evening. Thanks very much. My name's John McAvoy. I'm here to represent Con Edison. We experienced a significant disturbance on the west side of Manhattan at one of our electric transmission stations at roughly 6:47 p.m. that eventually interrupted power to approximately 73,000 customers. We divide the electric system into what we call networks. It's roughly equivalent to neighborhoods. It interrupted power to 6 networks. We expedited the recovery, performed an initial assessment of what was the most likely cause, isolated that equipment, inspected the other equipment to identify any obvious abnormalities, and now we have started the restoration process. Of the 6 networks that we lost, we've restored 2 of those networks, starting from just before 10 p.m., and we are working to restore the remaining 4 networks by midnight tonight. Now, there are some unknowns in this. As we restore equipment, we may find damage that we're not currently aware of, but we are proceeding on a path to restore all customers, hopefully by midnight tonight. We'll then look at the root causes of the event and restore the system to a fully normal condition once we understand exactly what occurred and what caused the outages that we're all experiencing today.
Mr. McAvoy, do you know exactly why this happened? It's not an especially hot day, and thankfully it's a Saturday in which businesses and people aren't in their offices.
Right. It does not appear related to excessive load as sometimes has occurred in the past. When we have an incident like this, we focus first on isolation of the failed equipment or the most likely failed equipment, and then restoration of the customers. And then when customers are restored, when we really do the full root cause investigation to identify what may have caused it. That will follow later today and tomorrow.
The lights just went on behind you. How do you feel about that?
I feel just as well as everyone in the crowd does, believe me.
They're all cheering.
People heard explosions. Do we know what that was going on?
So I can't speak to the explosions that they may have heard. When you have incidents like this, large circuit breakers, which are the high voltage equivalent of circuit breakers in a panel in your house, operate. And they are very loud when they operate. That could have been what they heard, but I can't know for sure because there were restoration attempts made as per our procedures.
Were there fires in the manholes at any point?
So I did hear a report of a fire in a manhole. We'll investigate. Very unlikely that a fire in a manhole was the cause of an incident of this scale.
This has happened occasionally in our city. Sometimes in the winter it's ice, other times overloading. What do you think could be the cause of 2 incidences at the same time?
Yeah, really not able to estimate what could have caused this. We have to go through the full engineering analysis to look at the data, the facts, and the equipment condition to identify the cause.
And do we know now how many more networks are back on since this one just...
Well, we had 2 out of 6 back. We got definitely a 3rd out of 6. I'm looking to the team to see if anybody has any updated. How many do we still have out, you? 1. We have 5 of the 6 networks restored. 1 network remains to be restored. The Pennsylvania network, which is roughly 42nd Street to 32nd Street, Hudson River to roughly Broadway 7th Avenue.
No one is expecting any more outages tonight with these possible unknowns?
No, we do not expect any additional outages this evening.
I have a question for the NYPD. A lot of people saw regular New Yorkers jumping into direct traffic Didn't see a lot of police officers. I was actually in front of a precinct. Didn't see any police officers jumping into that. Can you explain what the protocol is for something like that in an emergency?
Good evening. I'm Chief Steve Hughes. I'm the commanding officer of Manhattan South. We did a level 3 mobilization, bringing units from around the city. The effective area was 4-2 to 7-2 from 5th Avenue to the west side. We implemented a vehicle traffic freeze. We were just letting city buses up at that point, stopping civilian traffic from going in there. We're in the process of bringing other units in to post offices around on each of the blocks. So there is a significant uniform presence out there now.
Can you just speak to New Yorkers, though, stepping in and when police weren't there, taking charge?
Yeah, we appreciate their assistance. I heard reports New York 1 had an elderly gentleman with a cane out assisting traffic. But, you know, our big purpose was to stop the traffic from coming into the area, and that's what we were focusing on first.
Chief, what do you say about the New York spirit? In 1977, people jumped in those intersections to help out. I was one back then. What do you say about New Yorkers being able to go through so much?
It was 42 years ago tonight that we had the blackout. So tonight, totally different situation tonight. People came together and we handled it pretty well. Thank you.
Bill de Blasio, shouldn't he be here at this point?
Bill de Blasio, the mayor of New York, is running for president, and he's in Waterloo, Iowa tonight, but has said he's involved in communication with the top officials here.
Network that is still down. We are going to continue to work closely together with PD and Fire and Con Edison. We'll get that up as soon as possible. The cooperation here has been excellent. That's why we've been able to get it restored as quickly as we have. And thank you again very much for coming out tonight.
Do we know if anybody's in elevators? Do we still have any issues with that? I mean, this came back on.
Yeah, again, we have a task force that has been going to all of the affected buildings to make sure that nobody was in elevators.
Commissioner, basically,
I have not gotten any reports at this moment, but we have a task force that's definitely going building to building for those buildings that were still out.
Commissioner, reports of injuries or this sort of thing? Reports of injuries from people?
There were no reports of injuries or fatalities, and I have been personally in touch with the mayor to give him an update on this situation.
We have another
All right, thank you very much.